Hi, I'm Coach MK, founder of the Fitness Protection Program. I'm a run coach, not a life coach. We're never really talking about the running. Running is the tool. It's the conduit we use to examine the world we live in, as well as its impact on our own lives and the lives of the people around us. How we react to certain people and to certain stories tells us a lot about how we view ourselves. I'm committed to the thoughtful, intentional exploration of the importance of running so that no one discounts their own badassery, ever. Final note, this podcast is geared towards every runner who won't lose their home, livelihood, or health insurance if they show up to the corral with a hangover. Not that I'm encouraging you to do that, just saying. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Fitness Protection Podcast.
It's time to get started with a nice, easy warm-up. If you haven't been doing your silly toes, anytime is the perfect time to start. Hello, good evening. This is Coach Sarah, and this is Ask Away. We are going to talk about the reason why you're seeing me instead of just hearing me in a couple of minutes. I think you all know, anyone who is listening right now is aware that Coach MK ran the New York City Marathon today. And if they're not aware, then I would like to be the first to tell them that Coach MK ran the New York City Marathon today. She is happy. I've seen some pictures and she looked amazing. And I'm not doing that quite yet. Let me introduce the stream. This is Ask Away. This is our weekly live stream in which we answer questions submitted to us by members of the Fitness Protection Program. We have 3 programs. One is called Runner Interrupted, and it is for runners currently not running. We ask them to tell us what their weekly wins are, because it can be really, really hard to find the wins when you are not able to do the thing you really want to do. We like to say that there is nothing harder than running slower than you want to at any given time. So imagine how hard it is when you have to stop. The people in Runner Interrupted are doing really, really hard work, and some of them are having a really, really hard time, and I want to give them a really big shout out and make sure that they know that they are loved, and that is why we have them submit their weekly wins to read out loud on this stream. Our second program is called Rebuild, and it's for people who are returning to running after an extended period away. Returning to running after an extended period away means a lot of running more slowly than you want to be running. It means a lot of being very careful and being very cautious and possibly being very worried that you're doing it wrong, because coming back to running in a body that is not the same as it was when you were last running, that is also really hard work. We have a couple of things from our people in Rebuild. And then finally, our third program is called Maintain. That program is for people who have attained a modicum of fitness, sometimes through training for a marathon, like the big one that a lot of our people ran today. And they want to maintain it in the off season without having to necessarily sign up for yet another race. We're going to talk about that. There's a specific question about that tonight. Y'all in Maintain had a lot of questions. You submitted 9 questions, which is very flattering to me because you knew that it was going to be me and not MK. That means that you still trust me with your questions. And I'm very flattered by that. And I'm going to do my very best to answer them. Warm up is done. Feeling good. Heart rate hovering around 140. Now let's get into the heart of this podcast for the long run. Before I get into Runner Interrupted, I do want to talk for a minute about the New York City Marathon. And I want to give a big shout out to a lot of people. First of all, Olivia Merrick. Olivia from Australia traveled to New York from Australia and ran the New York City Marathon. And Olivia, I want to tell you that I once traveled to Australia and then had to travel back from Australia to the East Coast of the US, and it almost killed me. I was completely laid out for about a week and had a very hard time getting out of bed. I had no children. I had no, there was nothing really particularly constraining me in my life compared to what I have going on right now. That was one of the hardest things I had ever done. You traveled from Australia to New York City and you ran the marathon. And I am just really, really impressed. I am so proud of you. Congratulations. You did an amazing job. I also want to give a big shout out to Lindsay Hine, who we had on our podcast several weeks ago, and we got to meet her in person on Friday. Coach MK and I did. Lindsay Hine had an amazing day today. She ran a marathon that she did not know she had in her. And I just want to say, Lindsay, thank you for meeting us. Thank you for seeing me and recognizing me and giving me a hug. That was pretty awesome, and it made me feel really good. And I'm just so happy for you. You look so happy in your post-finish photo. I am really, really, really happy that you had a great day. There are a lot of people that ran the marathon today, thousands and thousands of them. And one of the things that I really love about the New York City Marathon is that there are still people running right now. It's 7 p.m. and we just set the clocks back and it's dark on the East Coast. It is dark in New York City and there are still people finishing the marathon. And one of the things that New York City Marathon is famous for is that the first finishers of the day are the ones who greet the final finishers of the day with their medals. And that's just really, really special. And it makes me really, really happy. So I hope like I have never hoped anything, that the people who are still out there running the New York City Marathon are getting all the love and all the support that they deserve, because that is hard work. Running a marathon that you know is going to take you hours and hours and hours, knowing that it's going to be dark when you finish. That's really hard work that deserves a lot more respect than it gets at a lot of races. And everything I know about the New York City Marathon tells me that they actually do know how to respect the people that are out there for the longest. So I want to give a big shout out to those people. And finally, Coach MK. I was like practicing this in the shower and I was like, hopefully you'll get to the end without crying. But that's not going to happen because I'm already crying a little bit. Coach MK, congratulations. And I hope that you're not listening to this right now. I hope you are just eating nachos. But I know you're going to listen to it later to make sure that the audio doesn't suck, because you really care about that, as you should, because you really care about the people listening. You really care so, so much about all of us. You have put your heart and soul into this business. And you have put so much of yourself into the people that you coach. And I want to thank you for giving us the gift that you gave yourself. When I hugged you goodbye on Friday, and I was really sad to leave you, and you said, I just want to remember how I feel right now. That there's something about that sentiment that is just so beautiful. And that is the gift that you have given me in running the marathon. The gift of showing up at the start and knowing that you can do this, and being curious about what it's going to look like, and knowing that being able to start, like not just knowing that, oh, this is what I should think because this is the right attitude to have or whatever, not feeling it like it's the right answer, but feeling it like it's really your truth. The fact that I am here, and the fact that I know I can do this, the fact that I can do the work to get me here, that I've been able to do all of the training that has gotten me to this point, that is such a cool feeling. I ran a marathon 5 weeks ago, and that was truly, truly how I felt at the start. I really, I cared. Obviously, I cared about the outcome. I had been working really hard. I wanted to have the best day I could possibly have. But the excitement and just the thrill of knowing that I was strong enough to do this, I had gotten this far, and getting to the start, that matters far, far more than the finish. I am so grateful to you for making me really believe that. And I am so happy for you that you had such an amazing day today. I really am. So, okay, sorry. It is a true gift. So everyone who trains with MK, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, and perfect timing. Just when we needed to lighten up. Come on in. All right. Here's Roz to make mommy stop crying for a second. Say hi.
What is this for?
Well, that was, apologies, by the way, if you wanted to listen to this on Twitch, I tried like 4 times. I said, please don't touch the mic. You can talk into it, but don't touch it. I tried like 4 different times to go live on Twitch, and it did not work.
Can I first tell my cousin?
Can you what?
I'm going to tell my cousin.
Yeah,
I know about it, MK, and I think you're really good at it.
You think she's really good at what? What is MK really good at?
Reading.
Reading? That's true.
Reading.
Breathing?
Breathing.
Breathing.
Beathing. Why is she not talking?
Well, she's not here right now. She's celebrating because she ran a really big marathon today.
Who's talking to you?
No one's talking to me. We're talking to a lot of other people. We can't see them, but they can see us and they can hear us. Okay. Do you have any last things to say to everybody before it's time for bed?
What are those?
Those are all the people who are watching. Those are all of their names. Should we say what their names are?
Yeah.
Amy's watching, and Julie's watching, and Emma's watching, and Anne is watching, and Sarah is watching.
And who is it?
That's Sarah saying hi, Roz. Can you say hi, Sarah?
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. We got a shout out to give Sarah in a little bit too, because she ran a race today too.
She did.
She did. She did
MK?
really not with MK, a different one, but she did a really good job too.
No.
Okay.
I'm still talking.
Good night, Roz.
No, I'm still talking.
Yes. So that was Roz coming in to join everyone. She's a little confused because she's used to just coming in and seeing MK, and MK saying nice things to her. She really likes that. Instead, she just got to look at me and herself, and looking at me and herself makes her just really want to talk and watch herself talk. I don't know where she gets it from. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Hi, Anne. Yes, you are here too. It is so nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah Seberg, negative split by roughly 4 minutes. That's pretty awesome. So why don't we just do the rest of the shout outs right now? Sarah Seberg ran a half marathon today in Arizona. I hope the weather was good. I have to imagine the weather is getting better there. Sarah has not run a half marathon in just about a year. She has had a hard year. She's had a lot to recover from. She's done a lot of really, really hard work to get to that starting line. And I am really proud of you, Sarah. Like I told you earlier over text, what you did today is so much more than 13.1 miles and a finish time. It shows the way that you have bounced back from a lot of things. And you have listened to your body, and you have taken it slow, and you've done the hard thing, the smart thing, many, many times when you didn't really want to. And I admire that a lot. You've been here, you've been doing the work month after month after month. You've been patiently resetting when you need to reset, and you are really, really strong. So congratulations. Also, Karen Schluter, if you are listening, Karen Schluter ran a 10K today or yesterday. Maybe it was yesterday. Sorry, Karen. This weekend has been, I'm all confused. Karen Schluter ran a 10K this weekend, and she had an amazing day. She broke 52 minutes. That is a really big deal. Congratulations. You were strong and steady, and you just kind of showed up to do this thing. You did not train for it for weeks. You just decided, hey, this sounds like fun, and there's chocolate at the end. Let's do it. That's a really cool way to run a race. That is why we love Maintain. Maintain gives you lots and lots of choices. It's really cool when you're maintaining your fitness enough that you can just kind of pivot to something that looks interesting and go do it. So that concludes race shout outs. Lots of people running races. We are kind of winding down on the fall races, but we do have a few more in the next few weeks. And we've got some people running California International. We've got some people running Philly, and there are probably some other ones on our list too. So I am still paying attention. I am so excited to see how everyone's going to do. Let's pivot to, speaking of pivoting, let's pivot to Runner Interrupted. We have 2 weekly wins to announce from this group. If you're just joining the stream, Runner Interrupted is our program for people who are not currently running for whatever reason, because of injury, because of life, circumstances beyond or within their control, whatever it is. There are a lot of us that wish we were running and are not. And it's a really hard place to be, and this is really hard work to do. And weekly win number 1 is moving to Runner Interrupted. This person says, I recognize there are some things in my personal life, plus a mild injury I need to face head on. Trying to give myself space and grace to do so, it is incredibly difficult to do this. You are so correct. It is incredibly difficult. It really, really is. And I want to tell you that I see you, and I give you so much credit for making the decision to say, I need to take a step back. And I'm so glad that you're still here. I'm so glad that you're still with us and that you want to be here and you want to stay connected. Does making the decision to stay connected to running when you are not running, I think that is such an empowered choice, and it is such a good choice, and it will lead to such good things down the road. And I am so sorry that you are not able to run right now. I know how much that sucks. Weekly win number 2. I've been taking an adult ballet class. A number of women in the class were complaining that their feet were cramping up. I was not having that problem. The teacher basically went through the toe yoga routine and told us if we did it regularly, our feet wouldn't cramp up. I may not be running right now, but it's awesome to see the benefits of what I can do. That is really cool. If you are in Rebuild or Maintain, you have probably seen me, or if you have ever been in Rebuild or Maintain, you have probably seen me do toe yoga with great relish because I love toe yoga. It's so great. My PT taught me how to do it when I went in for a calf strain a couple of years ago. And I was like, well, I know, I hear what you're saying, but I'm talking about my calf and not my foot. She's like, yeah, your calf and your foot are super duper connected. And everything between the two of them gets translated somehow. You need more foot mobility. And toe yoga is really, really, really good for your feet. And it's so cool that your foot mobility is translating into ballet competence, which is a thing that I certainly don't have. I would love to see and hear more about ballet class. That sounds really cool. I love that you're doing that. That's an amazing way to put your energy and do something for yourself. And that's what we encourage people in Runner Interrupted to do. Keep that space on your calendar, keep that real estate, and find a way to use it for yourself and make the time that running used to take up time that still is allotted to you. Anything that you can do in order to keep that time and make it yours, it's going to be really, really valuable to you when you start building up the habit again. Okay, that is what we have in Runner Interrupted. Going over into Rebuild, when I last checked, we only have one question, and we still only have one question. So here it is. My hands swell when I exercise. I thought it was just heat related, but it's still happening when it's cool. Enough that I need to take my wedding rings off before exercise. Is this a nutrition thing or something where I just need to make do? Yeah, if it's still happening when it is not hot outside, I would say it probably is. And I would honestly talk to your doctor about it the next time you're in for a physical. If it's bothering you, I'm interested to know whether it's bothering you just while exercise or like while walking around outside. Like, let's say you have to walk a half a mile to your car or something like that. If you live in a city like I do, that's something that would probably happen fairly often. If you're just walking like sort of casually and not really breaking a sweat, I'm curious if it's still happening then, but even if it's happening while running and it's not hot outside, that suggests that something is off with your hydration, and it might not be something that you can fix by just hydrating more. Usually that has something to do with electrolytes, the amount of electrolytes you have, the amount of electrolytes you put into yourself before and after exercise. And this may be the sort of thing that your doctor may have some recommendations about. The reason I say see your doctor is because you want to know if there's something going on with your kidneys. There are a lot of different things that can affect your hydration levels that may not have to do with whether you are drinking enough water. Because if you're having a problem with hydration levels, drinking enough water is not necessarily going to solve them. I am not a doctor in any way, shape, or form, except for the fact that I am a doctor of Italian literature, but I am not the kind of doctor that you need an opinion from. A nutritionist is also someone that may be able to help you out. If there's one that you ever see or consult with, if you have one on your speed dial, if you have one on your care team, not a bad idea to ask them. But I would say still something to ask your primary care doctor about and see what they say. Tell them everything you told me. Tell them that you thought it was just heat related, but it's still happening when it's cool. The way you say this makes it sound like maybe this is sort of a new thing. Maybe, you know, this hasn't necessarily always happened to you while running. So especially if this is a change from what you're used to, it is worth getting checked out. Always better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to something like hydration levels. Okay, that is everything in Rebuild. And by the way, if questions come up during the stream, please be sure to throw them in the chat. I will try and keep an eye on the comments in Facebook. Again, Twitch, I do not know why, but I could not get my phone to go live on Twitch, and I can't do Twitch and Facebook simultaneously on one screen. So unfortunately, there is no Twitch tonight, and I apologize. All those who followed me on Twitch, at least one person did. If you're looking for me on there, I'm not there, but I am here. And this audio, like I said, our amazing editor, Chris, is going to take it. Hopefully it will not suck, and she will make it into a very nice podcast, which will be released on our feed later. Okay, on to these 9 questions in Maintain. Holy shit, you guys, you must really trust me, and I love that. We have some of them are kind of related and clustered. So I tried to kind of put the questions that are alike together so that I definitely, I don't get too rambly and off on too many tangents and then have to switch directions entirely. These are all really good questions. And to the extent that I am able to answer them, I will. And if the answer that I am able to give is not at the level that MK is going to be able to give, and I already know that there are a couple like that you'll want to hear the MK version too, do not worry. We will make sure that MK gets to give her 2 cents. And if you hear my answer and you still want to hear from her again, feel free to put this question back in next week. Ask a follow-up question. She will be back next week, and I will so not be offended because I want to hear what she has to say too. Okay, so hello, first month in Maintain. Right now, my easy effort pace is all over the place. What suggestions do you have for estimating 10K and 5K pace for those portions of the runs? Thank you. Okay, so what this person is referring to is the fact that on Mondays and Wednesdays, Maintain runners have the option to do a harder workout. So there's a Monday workout that gets assigned every 2 weeks, and there's a Wednesday workout that gets assigned every week. I just want to take a minute here to say that if you are in Maintain and that does not sound appealing to you and you would rather just run easy effort, you can always do that. That is always an option. You never, ever, ever have to do the harder runs. You never have to run harder than easy effort with a few strides thrown in there. We like to have you do the strides and the stride sandwich either in the middle of the run or at the end of the run. But you do not have to do 5K and 10K pace if you don't want to. However, this question is, if my easy effort pace is all over the place, how do I estimate my 5K and 10K pace? The reason she is asking that question is that normally when we assign 5K pace in a workout, we say that in order to calculate what your 5K pace should be, you should take your easy effort pace with the 140 cap and subtract 3 minutes. 10K pace, subtract 2 minutes from that pace. So if you're running, let's say, a 13-minute mile at easy effort, your 5K pace would be a 10-minute mile. So if your easy effort pace is not consistent enough to estimate what the 5K pace and the 10K pace would be to kind of pin something down, honestly, just take an average. What is your, on an average day, if you average together all your easy effort runs over the course of a week, what would that pace look like? Some days you're running a 15-minute mile. Some days you're running a 12-minute mile. Okay, so let's call it a 13-minute mile and start from there. The thing is that the 5K and 10K paces, when you're just extrapolating from your easy effort pace, they shake out to different things for different people. So for some people, like for me, for example, the 5K pace that I get from subtracting 3 minutes from my easy effort pace is borderline too fast to be my 5K pace. It's like the very low end of what I can manage. I am lucky if I can complete a workout with that pace as my 5K pace. It does not usually work that way for me. And we're going to talk more about that with another question coming up here. 10K pace is pretty reasonable. 5K pace is always like, just this side. Whereas some people have their easy effort pace. They subtract 3 minutes. That's their 5K pace. They run the 5K pace workout and they're like, that wasn't very hard. And I'm like, okay, I guess, so it's an estimate. It's kind of a starting point for a conversation about what your paces should be for these harder workouts. Honestly, just throw something at the wall and see what happens. Take the average of your easy effort paces over the course of a week. And by the way, it is totally normal for your easy effort pace to be all over the place. It really, really, really is. Easy effort pace is often a function of sleep, hydration, nutrition, like at this moment, not broadly and generally speaking. So if you're having a week where you're super tired and you're not quite getting enough sleep, your easy effort pace is probably going to reflect that week. Then you catch up on sleep, you're having a much better week the following week. Often your easy effort pace kind of reflects that also. So fluctuations are normal. Take an average. Minus 3 minutes. There's your 5K pace. Minus 2 minutes. There's your 10K pace. Try it out and see how it goes. If that is totally unsustainable as a 5K pace in the workouts we've assigned this month, okay, make the 5K pace a little bit slower the next time you try the workout. Seriously, it's really not, there is so little downside to just playing around with it. There's like nothing that can really go wrong. There is no pressure here. There is no, if I didn't do this exactly right, then I failed. That's just not a thing. We want you to be challenged. We want you to have fun. If what you want is to be challenged with these workouts, then yeah, like try to challenge yourself. And if it feels a little too slow, cool, make it faster. If it feels a little too fast, make it slower. That is really all you have to do. make sure you're differentiating between 5K pace and 10K pace. So there's a difference between just saying like, try something out and then adjust versus saying like, who cares? It doesn't matter. Because it does matter. The 5K pace should be faster than the 10K pace. You should be going harder and it should feel harder. But also, and this is the last thing I'll say, it is really, really hard to learn paces and like find them and hold on to them for a while. It's not going to feel natural to you the first time you do a given workout. And part of the reason why we have the same workout every Wednesday for a month is that the first time you do it, it's not going to go that great. By the end of the month, you're going to really have it dialed in. Hope that was a good answer. If you have any follow-up questions, always feel free to ask. Hi, Amy. Hello. Bye, Anne. Thanks for joining. Glad that you got to jump in for just a second. Moving on to the next question. If I have a little niggle that I want to see a PT for, do I have to go to my primary care doctor first, or can I go straight to a PT? I've never done this before. Thanks. So I actually can't answer that question, and my answer is going to be super annoying because that depends. It really does depend, and unfortunately, you're just going to have to call and ask. And honestly, that's all it takes. And I know because I always feel this. I know that it's like hard to call and ask. It feels like kind of a lot. You probably have to go through a switchboard. You have to like wait your turn. You might have to leave a message. Someone's going to have to call you back. Like, just do it because it's worth doing and just ask. What I would do, because this is how I found my PT that I love after having gone through a couple that I wasn't so fond of. Do some Google searches within your insurance network in your area and see, because preferably you'll find someone who takes your insurance. I hope so. It may not be possible, but I hope so, because obviously, that's much more cost effective. Look to see if there is a PT practice where they do dry needling and manual therapy, and where there is at least one practitioner, but preferably more, with an OCS certification. And with several PTs who have the doctorate in PT, the DPT, as opposed to just the PT. That is how I found my practice. I see the running specialist at this practice. They do manual therapy and dry needling and everything. And I basically just found them by searching for practices that met those requirements. And MK has talked about how she kind of ranks and how she looks for PTs at different points. We are going to have a podcast with Alex Lanton, the PT who writes all of our strength circuits for this program. We're going to have a podcast with him in a few weeks, so get excited for that. We'll talk more about this then. Anyway, so what I did was I found a practice that I wanted to work with, and I called them and I said, okay, this is my insurance. This is my primary care physician. What do I have to do? Do I have to go get the referral, or can I come straight to you? And basically they said, yes, you have to get a referral, but you can get a referral over the phone. And that was what my primary care practice allowed me to do. There are many physical therapy practices that do not require you to get a referral, although that may, in those cases, have to do more with the insurance companies they're working with than with the PT practice themselves. And again, that's really, that's just the kind of thing that you have to call and ask. You might have to call your insurance company and ask. You might have to call the PT practice that you want to ask. You might have to call your primary care physician to ask. You might have to call all three of them. And if you do, I'm sorry, I would start with the PT and work from there. Most often they can tell you, okay, you got to call your insurance and ask them this. You got to call your doctor and ask them this, if that's what they need. So I hope that's helpful. What I would not do is call your doctor's office, make an appointment for 3 weeks from now, and then go in, show them what hurts and have them be like, okay, yeah, I don't know. So sure. And have them pick a PT for you, because in all likelihood, they are not going to pick a PT that is going to look at your whole chain, look at your whole body, and try and figure out what's going on. They're not going to pick someone who's going to look at you as an athlete and ask the kinds of questions that hopefully a PT with experience treating people like you will ask. That is what I did the first time I had a running related injury. And it was many months of kind of struggling before I actually ended up with someone that I knew was going to be good to work with. And again, the way I found the practice that I now work with was by searching online and asking around. And then I contacted them first and I said, what do you need from me? So I hope that is helpful. Again, start with practices that your insurance does cover, whether they are in network or whether they're like out of network, but you have an insurance plan that will cover a certain amount of things out of network. It's going to really depend on that more than anything else. I hope that you find someone. I really, really do, because finding a good PT is so huge. It is so good to have a PT who knows you, who knows what you're like when you're healthy and knows what you like when you are not so healthy, and knows what to do, what questions to ask, what to look at, where to look for the problems, and where up the chain and down the chain to look besides just the location where you are feeling pain. Again, get excited to have Alex Linton on our podcast in a few weeks. All right. Third question, please assure me it's okay that I am not hitting the miles during my Tenacious AF Marathon Ramp. It is definitely okay. So this person is asking whether it's okay that she is not hitting the miles, because what she's referring to is the fact that on our marathon ramps, we give basically a maximum time and a maximum amount of miles for the long run every week. So I think the longest run we have on any of these plans is 4 hours or 20 miles. I can't remember if it's slightly longer than 4 hours or not, but I'm pretty sure the mileage cap is 20 miles. The time cap is usually 4 hours or thereabouts. And yes, it is absolutely okay. The reason we give those two caps is because you are not doing yourself any favors by going longer than 4 hours. You are not doing yourself any favors by going longer than 20 miles. Not at the place that we're training, not the way that we're training. The chance that that will do more harm than good is much greater than the chance that it's going to somehow give you a boost. The rate of diminishing returns really amps up at that point. So what we really need is for you to get those 4 hours on your feet and moving forward with your ankles supporting your weight. Because what this is all about, as you've heard MK say many times, is that your tendons, joints, and ligaments. We need that time on your feet because your tendons, joints, and ligaments need to be adapted to the pounding of doing one thing continuously for hours and hours and hours. Also recall that you have a long run sandwich. So you have a run the day before your long run that is going to be pretty long and is going to be adding significant mileage onto that 24-hour period. That is what you need to get. You need that time on your feet moving forward. The miles really don't matter. Also remember that the 20-mile run came from a time when marathon training plans were being adapted from solely time-based to mileage-based for the sake of less experienced runners. Before there were less experienced runners like me buying Hal Higdon's book and running marathons back in the early 2000s, people ran by time because like there was no way to really know with a whole lot of accuracy how many miles you ran unless you like went and drove your car out around the route. So that really didn't matter. What mattered was time on your feet and not injuring yourself. If you've been watching MK's calls with her coach over the course of this training cycle, I want to remind you of something that Coach Tia said to Coach MK several weeks ago, probably 2 months ago at this point. The goal for MK for this training cycle was this: stay healthy and build volume. But stay healthy, that part came first. That's really what we're doing here. We are staying healthy above all is the most important thing. And that is where those caps come from. We do not want you out there longer than 4 hours at a time because of the rate of diminishing returns, because of the fact that that is more likely to break you than it is to make you stronger. You are doing a lot of things to get strong. You really are. You're doing those workouts on hills. You're doing strength every day with me. And you are running 5 days a week. That's a big deal. So please don't worry about that one run and the numbers that it's telling you, because they don't really matter. All you need to know is that you can cover the distance. And if you can stay out there for 4 hours moving forward with your ankles supporting your weight, then you're fine. You really are. Remember that long run sandwich. You're getting more than you think you are with those 2 runs sandwiched together in a 24-hour period. Okay? And I also want to say it is okay to ask to be reassured about this. It really is. We reassure people about it a lot. We understand why people need reassurance. It's really scary. Running a marathon is really scary. Running a marathon is really hard. This stuff is hard. And I know that when you don't feel like you're checking the box exactly correctly, I didn't get to 20 miles in 4 hours. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. What it means is that someone with a faster, easy effort pace, and we do have a few people in our group, does not need to be out there running longer than 20 miles. We don't need them out there running longer than 20 miles, and we want to cap them at 20 miles so they don't overextend themselves either. Okay? So that's a cap. It's not a target. We say that again and again and again. The mileage cap is there for people with a faster, easy effort pace so they don't overextend themselves. The time cap is there for people with a slower, easy effort pace so they don't overextend themselves. Because given the choice, we are marathon runners. We are all going to overextend ourselves. It is so hard not to. It is so hard to work smarter rather than harder. It's so hard to say, actually, I'm good. I don't need any more than this. We are here to help you do that because we know that it's very hard for you to do it for yourself. Certainly, I put myself in that category. All right. Next question. I did my first EAT this week. Now questions. From what I understand, the B segment is my 10K pace, right? Yes, that is correct. There's about a 2.5 minute difference between my B pace from the EAT and the 10K pace described in the hot buttered cider workout, which is 140 minus 2 minutes. Which pace should I use for that workout? So I'm just going to answer this as I go. Use the EAT pace. Okay. What I said earlier in answer to that first question about paces, when we give you the prescription of take your 140 pace, subtract 2 minutes, that's a starting point. That's a starting point for a conversation. The easy effort pace, like that person said, can be all over the place. And that might actually not yield a pace that is either fast enough or attainable enough for you. Like in my case, the 5K pace that spits out is barely attainable for me in these 5K workouts. I'm really not looking forward to doing it this week. I have to be honest with you. In your case, it sounds like the EAT is telling us something very different from that 140 minus 2. Use the EAT pace. That is based on current data from a workout that you just did. That is good data. Let's use it. Okay. The AT pace is definitely more of a tempo pace for me. Yeah, that is exactly what a 10K pace should feel like. Tempo pace is different from 10K pace for some runners. For our demographic, generally speaking, they're pretty close to one another. If you are the sort of person who runs a 10K pace in, let's say, 35 minutes, which would be if you're a pro, then yeah, the 10K pace is not the same as tempo pace. Tempo pace is going to be more like half marathon pace for you. If you're a half marathoner who runs a half marathon in an hour and 10 minutes, then your half marathon pace is going to be more like your tempo pace. Tempo pace is a term that gets thrown around a lot. Usually it's kind of a proxy for a pace called lactate threshold pace. And what that stands for is like a pace that is hard that you can sustain, but just barely over the course of an hour. But it's a pace that you can sustain for an hour. So that's a long time. So 10K pace for a lot of us in our sort of demographic in running is pretty close to that. It's not exact. Where I'm not saying that if your 10K pace, if you can't run a 10K in an hour, then this doesn't count for you. It doesn't really matter. What I'm saying, it's kind of, that's what separates the terminology for tempo pace. Tempo pace has more to do with how fast you can run over the course of an hour. 10K pace is, for us, pretty similar to that, but it would not be similar to that for someone who runs a 10K considerably faster. I hope I didn't just confuse everything terribly. The answer to your question, EAT pace is definitely more of a tempo pace for me. That means it's the right pace. Use that for your 10K pace. Yay. Okay. The A segment was a bit faster than my current half marathon times, and the C pace was a bit faster than my 5K PR. Sounds like you did it exactly right. Sounds like these numbers are pretty well in line, and sounds like these numbers are pretty well in line with your current race times, which means that, you probably know something about racing. You've probably raced pretty well. One more EAT question. What's the difference between time and total time on the EAT worksheet? So time just means like time for that segment, and total time means the total time of the workout so far. So that means like by the end of, you have total time for the A segment, let's say it's 12 minutes. Total time for the B segment, let's say it's 11 minutes, but then the total time for the workout at that point is 23 minutes. That's all. All right. Okay. Next question. What's your opinion on taking an off season? Sometimes I feel like I just want the mental break or the physical break, or maybe just want to spend my time doing something else, but I don't want to give up my hard-earned fitness. So it's a good question. And there are a lot of people who absolutely say, take an off season. It's super important. It's good for your brain. It's good for your heart. And I see their point. I really do. And if you want to take an off season, then listen to what you really want. This is definitely about a what do you want to do type of thing. The problem with an off season is that when you want to come back, you will have lost more running specific fitness than I think some people maybe realize or want to acknowledge. Reason being that if you're not maintaining those crucial adaptations in your tendons, joints, and ligaments, then that's what's going to set you up to potentially get injured if you amp up your running volume too fast. And that's going to mean that you need to take it slower in building up your base again. So maybe it's the kind of thing where, you like running, but running is not your number one thing. You like running, but you like it as sort of a part of a multi-sport lifestyle. That's cool. There's so much that you can do, and it really depends on what you want to do. There are, of course, tons of great ways to maintain your cardio fitness in the off season if you're not running. Lots of people love cross-country skiing, and that's ankle using weight-bearing exercise. Lots of people love cycling. Lots of people love taking spin class. Lots of people love just kind of being a lot less structured. And I get that. Being a lot less structured is really great, and it can be really good for you sometimes. The only thing is that there are trade-offs. So one of the things that is often one of those trade-offs is the long run. And as MK says a whole lot, the long run is one of those things that you kind of have to maintain if you want to have good options when your next running season comes around. If you have not been maintaining that long run, it is a lot harder to come back, build up your fitness to the point where you can do a half marathon, do a full marathon. There's a reason why we say you need to be maintained doing the workouts as written, at least as far as the long run is concerned and the total workout time is concerned, for 2 months, but absolute minimum 2 months, but preferably 3 before you can run a half marathon, but before we recommend you run a half marathon, before we recommend you use one of our 10-week marathon ramps. But really, the 10-week marathon ramp is not really on the table for you if you have not been running it all winter. Then you jump into maintain, you do maintain for 3 months, and then you want to get on the marathon ramp. I would not recommend that. That's not a great idea. That's not really enough time during which you've maintained your fitness. If you're maintaining between seasons, you have so many more choices. If you're not, it takes a lot more time to get to the point where you can do the things that you want to do. So you just kind of, I hate these, having to dispense answers that sound so much like different versions of it depends, but it does. It depends on what you mean when you say, I don't want to give up any hard-earned fitness. You can keep a lot of cardio fitness by doing some other things. You are not, however, going to keep those running specific adaptations if you give up the long run and if you give up the 4 or 5 days a week of running. So what does that mean? Maybe what it means is that you stick to a minimum long run, which is like 95 minutes. That's what you need to get the benefits of the long run. Maybe you kind of dial it back down to the minimum for a while and you shorten your weekday runs and add in some other types of fitness if there are other types of fitness that interest you. I don't really know without asking you more follow-up questions and getting more at what it is that's making you crave this mental break or physical break from running. Unfortunately, it is not possible to get a total break without giving up some of those fitness gains. But here's the last thing I'll say. If you want the break and you need the break, yeah, you're going to lose fitness, but so what? Okay. The so what is that, okay, it's going to take you longer to build it up again. You're not going to have as many options in the next season. It's going to, you're going to have a tougher time putting yourself in a position to run races if running races is what you want to do. Maybe running races isn't what you want to do though. And even if it is, life is long. And if you're patient and if you're in it for the long game and you're here and you're connected, then the fitness will come back, even if it takes more time and you have time. So losing fitness, honestly, it's not the end of the world. If it's not what you want, then that's important to listen to. But if what you really want is the break, then I think there's value in recognizing that when you say like losing fitness, it sounds like you're losing something. It sounds like there's, the sort of cost benefit analysis, and the cost of losing fitness when you say it in that way is really high. But also, like, you lose fitness sometimes. Life gets in the way. You get interrupted and you have to slide over into Runner Interrupted. So I hope if people who are in Runner Interrupted are listening, they understand very well how it feels to lose fitness. And I'm not trying to make light of that at all. It can, when it happens to you against your will and you don't want it, it sucks and it's hard. And yet we go on. We come back. If coming back is what we want, we take our time. We meet ourselves where we're at every day, and we get back to where we wanted to go eventually. Sometimes, like for Coach MK, it takes years. She ran the New York City Marathon today. She was going to run it last year. You may or may not remember. And she decided she wasn't ready and she couldn't do it. She did not expect 2016 to 2019 to be totally marathon free. And yet here we are. But she had an amazing day today. She really did. And so if you lose fitness because of life, okay, you'll come out on the other side. You really will eventually. And we are here to help you do that. So it may have been more of an answer than you bargained for. And I may have totally misread the intent of your question, but I wanted to make sure I covered all those angles. Okay. So next question. After finishing the beta, I ran a solid half today, probably a bit harder than I'd intended. I have another in 6 weeks. Polar says 8 days recovery. How should the next 2 weeks look considering the next race? Okay. So you ran a solid half, probably a bit harder than you intended. And I'm not sure exactly what you intended. I know that you were kind of open to seeing what happened. And it sounds like, yeah, you kind of gutted it out. You had a big solid negative split, and that's super cool. And I'm really happy for you. As far as what Polar says, remember, Polar is not saying 8 days off your feet. Polar is saying you need at least 8 days before you turn around and run another half marathon. It's saying you need 8 days before you do the same workout that you just did. So you have 6 weeks. Cool. I think that's plenty of time. What I would like for you to do is start from our rule of thumb. Rule of thumb, 3.5 days off for every hour you spent at or above race effort. So, race effort for these purposes is about 160, 165 heart rate. If you ran hard today and you're feeling it, I would say, let's take the week off. I really, really would. If you are climbing the walls next Saturday and you want to go for a really, really, really easy run, okay, we can discuss that. But I would honestly take a deep breath, take stock. I mean, think about it. You finished the beta and then you ran a half. The beta was hard work. You did the strength beta for 8 weeks. You did hella strength. You ran a lot on the track 2 days a week for most of that. You can take a week off after this hard race effort that you just put out there. And you can, I think, rest assured that if you recover properly now, you will absolutely be ready to come back, ease back in, and be fit enough and absolutely recovered enough, because that's really the important thing, to do this next half in 6 weeks. So this week, I would say off. Saturday, assess. Do you want to go out for a really easy jog or not? You do not have to. And then a week from tomorrow, Monday, jump back into maintain really cautiously. Okay. So if the Monday assigned, I believe the Monday assigned workout a week from tomorrow is big kid pickups, which means you do a 1-minute pickup every mile for an hour. Sure, go ahead and do that. See how the pickups feel. If you're like, oh, I really don't want to do this with every 1-minute pickup, then maybe that's a sign that you need to keep it easy effort for a little bit longer. I would try and run, I would try and get out there and do the workout time the second week that you're back, but I would not necessarily do the hard effort workouts. I would say the Wednesday workout of, again, not this week, but next week, wait and see how you feel. If you really want to do it and you feel great, okay. You're really strong. I'm not that worried about it. But if you don't want to, because you're tired and you're still feeling a little worn out, that is also something to listen to. Sometimes the signals from your body saying, this is too much, comes in the form of like, I don't want to. And we're really tempted to push through the I don't want to and say, just do it. But often the I don't want to is something really important to listen to. All right. Hope that helps. Next question. Hi, Coach Sarah. I'm looking ahead to winter. And while I'm not afraid to run in the cold, I am most definitely afraid to run if it's potentially slip on the roads and paths I run on. That is very smart. I approve of that fear. I have a gym membership and I can go anytime I want. Honestly, I really like doing the speedier workouts on the treadmill. I've even added a 5th day of workouts to my week, thanks to my lovely coaches. That is awesome. Yay. I love all of that. This is great. Currently, I'm doing the step mill and swimming 1 day and then running 4 days. My question is, when I get tired of the treadmill and want to mix it up, what do you think about adding an HIIT high intensity interval training class or strength class in there instead of running? Should I warm up 1 to 2 easy miles on the treadmill and then go to class? If I'm doing classes, I'll definitely do not too hard workouts back to back. My concern is not to lose any of those crucial adaptations in my tendons, joints, and ligaments. You knew what I was going to say. Is there a minimum per week / per session to maintain those amazing little adaptations? Thank you so much. Love you. Oh, I love you too. Thank you for this question. You did all of your homework before asking it, and I love it. So you are correct. First of all, yay for having a gym membership and yay for embracing the treadmill. That is awesome. I do not want you out there on slick roads and paths. That is not a good idea. Treadmill is great. It is such a great tool. You are lucky to have it and you know that, and I love that. 5th day of workouts, step mill and swimming 1 day and then running 4 days. That's great. My question is, when I get tired of the treadmill and want to mix it up, can I add a strength class? The answer is sure. I want those strength classes to take the place of a hard workout or be on the same day as a hard running workout. Here's why. I hear what you're saying about not doing hard workouts back to back. That's correct. That means I do not want you taking an easy day and turning it into 1 to 2 miles on the treadmill plus strength day. That's taking an easy day and making it no longer easy. So you have 2 hard days a week plus your long run, which is also a hard day. So you have 3 hard days a week. If you want to do a strength class, do it on one of those days. And do I care if you do it instead of the run versus with the run? No, not really. It sounds like what you're doing, you're not going to do it instead of, you're not going to do it in addition to the run because you're doing it because you get tired of the treadmill. So that's totally fine. I would honestly try and fit 20 minutes of running really easy in alongside the class so that you don't lose the benefits of that 4th running day. Because especially if you're only running 4 days, and I don't mean to say only running 4 days. It's great that you're running 4 days plus this extra day of workouts. I don't want you to lose 1 out of 4 running days because of those crucial adaptations that you're talking about. So you know exactly the reason you know already, and you probably knew that this is what I was going to say. That's why I think you correctly surmise that it is a good idea to make sure that there's still some running happening even when you decide to do one of these classes. Again, though, let me stress this very, very clearly. Do not take those classes on an easy day. Do not let the classes take the place of an easy day. Let them take the place of a hard day. Make sure you're still getting 20 minutes of running to keep the adaptations in your tendons, joints, and ligaments. Keep your feet and your ankles attuned to the running. That is what we want. That is what we don't want to lose. And the last thing I'll say is yay, this is great. What I'm really glad about is the fact that you want to keep doing this and want to stay connected. Recognize that you might get tired of the treadmill because that's a thing, because the treadmill, as great as it is, can get boring. Totally understand. And that you want to think ahead about how you're going to confront that when it comes along. That's a really good way to be thinking. The main thing is that you keep going, that you figure out what's going to make you keep going, keep doing the runs, stay and maintain, stay tethered, continue to get 4 days a week of moving forward on your feet with your ankles bearing your weight. And honestly, as long as you don't have a race coming up where you care about performance, there's a lot that you can do. The reason I say that is because if you do have a race coming up where you care about performance, then we need to be a little bit more religious about the plan. We need to not doing those hard workouts. I really don't care if you do those or not, but we need to make sure we're getting the long runs as written. We need to make sure we're getting that time on your feet as written every day. We have a little bit less flexibility when it comes to subbing things in. If we don't have any races where we care about performance, seriously, I am happy if you're getting the long run. I'm happy if you're getting your 4 days of running and you're making sure that even on days when you decide, fuck the treadmill, I want to do a HIIT class, you're still getting 20 minutes of jogging. Okay? Okay. Hi, Coach Sarah. Yay, Coach MK. I so agree with that. I'm writing in with a question that you may not be able to answer, and that's okay. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. I followed an acquaintance running today. This person was trying to be cute and was doing great until a cramp did him in and he had to walk the last 4 miles. Oh, that sucks. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's really disappointing. I know about bonking. I know about fueling and pacing, etc., but what causes the cramping? Any steps we can take to run as strong a race as we have in us? Thank you. That is the last question is really kind of, I think, the question, right? What I'm hearing is like, ooh, I saw this person who was trying to be cute and they're really fit and they had a shitty thing happen to them. And now I'm scared. What do I do to make sure a shitty thing's not going to happen to me? And here's the thing. The marathon is hard. I ran a marathon 5 weeks ago. I went into that marathon feeling amazing, feeling fitter than I have ever felt, feeling relaxed, feeling excited and calm and genuine. Well, not particularly calm, but not putting pressure on myself and genuinely, could not have been better set up, I don't think, to run a marathon at this time in this place in my life. And it was really hard. It was terrible. The second half was terrible. I was miserable. I did not have to walk 4 miles, thank goodness. But, I really, really was in like a world of pain when the sun came out and it was all exposed and on asphalt. I mean, marathons are just hard. And I have now run 7 marathons and, I still haven't had a marathon where I really felt like I did everything perfectly. I have had marathons where I felt like I was very prepared. I've never had one where I felt like the execution really reflected that. So, any steps we can take to run as strong a race as we have in us? Keep going and don't give up. Really. And I don't mean that in terms of the race, because honestly, that's what all the pros say in their interviews when they talk about how do you keep going when the going gets tough at mile 21? They're like, keep going and don't give up. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Easy for you to say. Not easy for you to say, but a little bit, because at mile 21, you have 25, 30 minutes to go. The rest of us have a little bit longer than that to get to 26.2. And it's really, what I mean when I say keep going and don't give up is know that the marathon is hard. Know that all the work you're doing matters. It really does. All the preparation matters. Maintaining that long run between seasons matters. Keeping your fitness and keep staying healthy and building volume. All the shit that I've said this last hour, it all matters a lot. And yet stuff can just happen that you are not anticipating. Whether it's there are all kinds of things on race day that are different from when you're normally running. You can prepare as much as a person can prepare, and there are still going to be things out of your control. Specifically with the cramping. It's one of those things where there are many theories about what causes it. There's not the science isn't great behind any one single thing. Muscular imbalances are suspected. And MK might have a completely airtight answer to what causes cramping. We did not talk about cramping at all at my RRCA certification course when I got certified to be a run coach, because my interpretation of the reason, there's like a couple pages in my coaching book about it, and I went and looked at them, and the sum total of what they say is like, yeah, it happens. Maybe it's hydration, maybe it's muscles, maybe it's nutrition. Honestly, could be any of those things, could be all those things. It depends on the athlete. It depends on the day. It depends on the person. There are also different kinds of cramps. So I don't know what kind of cramp your friend had. It was like a side stitch type of cramp. Some people refer to that as a cramp, or it's like a foot cramp or a calf cramp, or, calf cramps are, I've heard, devastating. I've never had one, but they sound terrible. I have had the side stitch thing in a race. I still don't know why it happened. It has not happened to me in a race situation since then. Thank God, because it was so painful, and it was a half marathon, and I had to walk most of the last 4 miles. It was honestly terrible. And no one knew. Like, no, that's one that's still kind of a mystery. And I read all kinds of things on the internet. Like, what do I do next time? Oh, here's what you do. You exhale when the heel opposite side that you're having the side stitch on hits the ground, and that'll make it go away. So I tried to like time my exhales to my heel strike of the opposite side with it, because I had it not in races after that, but in several runs in the weeks after that. The theory that the nutritionist I was working with eventually came to was that it had something to do with a respiratory infection that I thought had been gone for a while, but apparently some parts of it were still hanging around. Again, it's a little bit of a crapshoot when it comes to something like a cramp happening in a race where there's a whole lot going on that is unfamiliar. There are a whole lot of factors you can't control. You've probably been going very, very hard for a very, very long time. So some people think that it has to do with hydration. Some people think that it has to do with nutrition and fueling. Whether inadequate or of the wrong kind, again, depends on the person, depends on what they've been doing and what they're doing that day. If it's a calf cramp, again, people think similar things, but also potentially to do with your muscles spasming because they are not getting adequate blood oxygen. And there is another theory that they are responding to nerve stimuli. Things are getting messed up in there. As you can tell, again, we did not talk about this in my coaching course because it's one of those things where like, it's not something you can necessarily plan for. And if it happens to you, there's not a whole lot you can do besides stretch and walk and hope that it goes away. So I am really sorry that happened to your friend. And I know how anxiety inducing it is every time you hear of something terrible happening to somebody in a marathon. You think, well, what if that happens to me? It could happen to you. And all you can do is control what you can control and then come back and do another marathon another time and be as prepared as you can possibly be for that next marathon and hope that it doesn't happen. Do your homework on what happened, see if there's anything you can learn from it, and also let it go and keep on going and don't give up. I wish I had a better answer than that. That's kind of what makes the marathon so devastating, and so alluring to so many people. It is so hard. It's just so hard. And you can be so prepared. Sarah Hall dropped out of the New York City Marathon today. Good for you, by the way, Sarah Hall. She dropped out at mile 17 or mile 18. And that just cannot have been easy to do. Sarah Hall was like one of the people coming into this race that everyone was like, oh my God, Sarah Hall. Because Sarah Hall just won the Berlin Marathon and then went on the next weekend to win the Twin Cities 10 miler. She is an incredible athlete. And no one doubts that she absolutely was fit enough and strong enough to run this race today. And something happened and she had to drop out. Ugh, that's devastating. If it can happen to Sarah Hall, like, what's going to happen to me? The marathon is cruel. It really is. And yet we come back to it again and again because training for it is kind of amazing. It's sort of miraculous. It brings you in touch with this side of yourself that I think is really empowered and really neat. And at least I'm speaking for myself here. In my case, it feels like I get in touch with a part of myself that no other part of my life really touches when I'm structuring my life around making sure I'm getting enough sleep to run 20 miles on a Friday morning. That's why I want to do another marathon and another one after that. So to return to what I said at the beginning to Coach MK and the gift that she gave me, I thought for many, many years that the desire to run marathons was gone. I did not want to do it anymore. The joy in the training was gone. It was nothing but anxiety and thinking I sucked and feeling like nothing was ever enough. And that from 2010 to 2017, I did not run, from 2010 to 2017, marathon training was terrifying to me. I did run another marathon in 2011 after my terrible experience in 2010 at my fourth marathon. And, it was somewhat of a redemption because it wasn't as terrible as the one I had run the year before, but it was still pretty terrible. And the training was still pretty terrible. And I doubted myself all the time. I did not think I belonged there. I did not think that this was actually something that I could really do. And I didn't really want to do it. Because of MK and because of the freedom that she has given me and that I know she wants to give you from the tyranny of the finish time, I want to run marathons for as long as I can. I understand what she means when she talks about the empowerment in being able to do this, being able to show up at the start line, and the ability to show up at a start line, just grateful to be there and excited to be strong enough to be there in the first place. That is, it's not something that I necessarily thought I would achieve in my lifetime. And I feel like I get closer to it all the time. And that is what I want for all of you. What you need to run your best and strongest race. And this is the last thing I'll say in answer to that question. As strong a race as you have in you, as this question asker put it. Don't stop. Love what you're doing because it is a celebration of your abilities. And love yourself enough that you are happy and proud to be there at the start line and to know that that is really what matters, is that you were ready to start. Woo! Hard work is done, but you know that the run doesn't end until you have a nice cool down and get on that foam roller. So, hello, Fiona. It is so nice to be able to watch this live on my day off. Yes, it is so nice to have you, another Australian. It is nice when the Australians can join us because I know that the topsy-turvy time changes are crazy. And so now that we have set our clocks back, the Australians have set their clocks forward. One of my best friends lives in Australia, so we go through this every year. Our availability, our daylight hours that we have in common all of a sudden are like, oh, we have 4 more of them than we had before. It's crazy. So thank you, Fiona, for joining. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I apologize for Twitch not working out tonight. But I hope that you will all get a chance to listen to this when it comes out in your podcast feed in a few days. Thank you, Chris, for everything that you do to make this podcast happen. Thank you for tuning in for Ask Away. And I hope that I answered your questions. If you want an MK answer in addition to my answer, I am not ever offended. So please ask again. MK will be back with us in the next couple of days after she recovers and eats all the nachos. Congratulations, everyone who ran and raced this weekend. I am so proud of you. You are coached, you are loved, and you're winning at life. And I'll see you tomorrow for Strength and Maintain and Rebuild.